are not putting up a strong party against the party of the President. We are not going to quarrel with him. Far from it. We will be giving our full support for him politically. You know, he was elected by 31 million. But the President can be very sure that in the coming days, we will fiscalize. Pag may nakita tayong masama, we will raise our voice because that is the essence of our presence here.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Sean Yao. The big story tonight.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte, who is currently chairman of PDP-Laban, says the party will serve as what he called a fiscalizer of the Marcos administration if needed.
But Duterte also assures the new administration that the party is throwing its full support behind President Marcos. Mon Gualvez with the big story.
We are not putting up a strong party against the party of the President. We are not going to quarrel with him. Far from it. We will be giving our full support for him politically.
This is what PDP-Laban chairman and former President Rodrigo Duterte had to say about the Marcos administration. During the PDP-Laban National Assembly on Thursday, he clarified that while the party supports the government, they are also ready to serve as a fiscalizer. Meanwhile, Duterte said he has no bad blood against those who have already left PDP-Laban. He acknowledged those who chose to stay with the party.
You hang on to this party because it will carry you to victory in the coming year.
PDP-Laban has elected Palawan 2nd District Representative Jose Alvarez as its new president. He was nominated by his predecessor Alfonso Cusi. Senator Robin Hood Padilla, meanwhile, was officially named Executive Vice President of the party. Other VPs include Senator Francis Tolentino, Cebu City Mayor Mike Rama, and Senator Bato de la Rosa. Duterte remains as the chairman of PDP-Laban.
Whether we like it or not, siya yung mukha ng party. Siya yung nirespeto, ginagalang, and with his 81% popularity, trust rating palabas bilang Pangulo. Iba yung respeto sa kanya. And I'm sure na marami pa pong makikinig sa kanya.
Despite the COMELEC recognizing Duterte's faction as the legitimate one, the other wing, led by Senator Coco Pimentel, condemned the gathering.
The original members of the PDP-Laban denounces the farce of a gathering that happened kanina. We are fully behind the leadership of Party Chairman Senator Coco Pimentel and Party President Senator Manny Pacquiao. We vow to fight against these usurpers to protect our 40-year-old party.
Despite this, the Pimentel-led group said they are still open to reuniting with the other faction. For Palawan Representative Jose Alvarez, the newly elected president of the other faction, this needs to be studied first.
Honestly speaking, upo muna ako, tingnan ko muna yung landscape. Di ba? Para at least mapag-aralan lang. Wala ba akong problema? I am friends to all, enemies to none.
While faction concerns still haunt the PDP-Laban, the Duterte-led wing is calling on the current government to continue what the Duterte administration started. These include pushing through with anti-insurgency efforts and the fight against illegal drugs. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
Meanwhile, the Liberal Party held its annual assembly as they announced a new set of officers led by Albay 1st District Representative Edsel Lagman. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to the story.
#Tuloy Liberal. That was the theme of the Liberal Party's annual meeting on Friday. During the assembly, the party announced its new set of leaders as they gave their message of continuing to fight for democracy. Albay 1st District Representative Edsel Lagman succeeded former Senator and Vice Presidential candidate Kiko Pangilinan, who will now serve as the party's new chairman.
As your president, I am not ready to allow the demise of the Liberal Party. I assume the presidency to lead up the Liberal Party from the ashes of the May 2022 election.
Under the Marcos administration, Lagman said, the Liberal Party would once again take the role of a responsible opposition. Lagman also assured that the once ruling party is already looking at a strong comeback in the 2025 midterm elections.
And we are going to really prepare early on for 2025. We should prepare now so that we could combat more effectively in 2025. We are starting today.
The Liberal Party was once the ruling party from 2010 to 2016, when the late Benigno Aquino III was president. But come the 2019 and 2022 elections, none of the Liberal Party's senatorial candidates secured a slot in the upper chamber. Lagman said that they have learned their lessons from their previous shortcomings. He also mentioned that they are already eyeing Pangilinan as one of their senatorial candidates, though the former senator has yet to agree.
I hope they will commit to run with the party in 2025.
The Liberal Party also plans to intensify the recruitment efforts, focusing on young leaders on the grassroots levels, all the way to the barangays. According to Pangilinan, the Liberal Party has over 400 elected officials and 10,000 non-politician members to date, and currently has 165 chapters nationwide. Former chairperson and Vice President Leni Robredo, meanwhile, wished the party good luck as they increase their ranks. Lagman says Robredo will remain an active member of the party despite not having an official post. Pangilinan meanwhile assured that the country has yet to see the last of the Liberal Party.
We may not have reached our desired goals for victory in 2022, but we have ignited a fire in the hearts of millions of our people, especially the youth.
Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
After the break, Vice President Sara Duterte is sounding the alarm over the quality of education in the Philippines. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Sa mga weekend warrior tulad ko, 2 oras lamang mula sa Metro Manila, mararating mo na itong mala probinsyang eksena.
Tuloy-tuloy lang. Tayo ka na dyan, kaibigan. Ako'y sabayang halina. Pag-asa ang ating sandigan. Sigurado tayo dyan. Pupusta ko, pare, kaya mo pa.
Susuyurin, lalakbayin, top life. 10 years from now. Okay, game na. Okay, no, hindi, wala lang.
Nice! Wow!
Nung kino-cover ko si Heidi Lim, iyak ako na iyak. Fulfillment yun of vision na binigay ni Lord. Itik 1, itik 2, itik 3. Yung asawa po ninyo?
Ayun ay single man na ako.
Oh, masaya na. Bago sila mag-invite ng mga bisita, gusto nila na harmonious yung relationship ng environment tsaka ng agriculture sa tourism. So yung ganong perspective, mapadagat man, mapabukid man, makakatulong yan sa tunay na pag-unlad ng La Union. Iniwan ka na.
Sinapuera ko na.
Oy, ganyan talaga. Pag dalawa talaga ang babae mo, iiwanan ka talaga nun. Hindi tayo papayag na hindi mapuntahan itong isa sa mga tinatagong yaman ng La Union. Kable.
As a security, sir, maluwang yung niro-roaming ko. Tapos mahirap yung pagpunta ko sa trabaho ko, medyo malayo sa bahay. Service po sa school po.
Sasakay kami nitong Black Hawk helicopter. Nais nilang ipakilala ang ibang mukha ng hulo, hindi lang sa mga dayo, kundi pati sa mga kabataan nito. We are at at the center of the Bible story, right here in the old city of Jerusalem. And behind me is the area where Jesus spent the last days of his life. Hindi pwedeng pa lusog. Parang kulang pa sa training yung mga kami. Nasa edge kami. Pagka nahulog kami, doon kami babagsak sa bangin.
Tuloy-tuloy lang ang biyahe. Tuloy-tuloy lang, tuloy-tuloy lang. Mararating mo rin.
Pork is a favorite in the family of Adela. But because a kilo of pork now costs 360 pesos, they decided to have pork only on special occasions.
Tuwing kailan na kayo bumili ng baboy, ma'am? Minsan lang. Siyempre, kasi yun ang mahal eh. Mura lang kasi yung manok. Sa manok na lang kami.
Pork vendors have likewise been feeling the brunt of having to raise pork prices due to inflation.
Talagang kakaunti ang bumibili rito simula nung magka-pandemya. Noon kasi marami ang benta namin dito. Nakakatatlong baboy hanggang tanghali. Ngayon sa kalahati, hindi pa, tinitinda ko pa sa hapon.
The Meat Importers and Traders Association has urged President Bongbong Marcos to cut pork import tariff in the next 5 years. This is to ensure food security and cool down inflation.
The main reason is to be able to maintain a competitive price. We have so much stock in inventory, assuming that it's all there. Now, these are purchased at a lower landed cost, at a lower exchange rate, and then there is a carrying cost.
The Pork Producers Federation of the Philippines, however, does not agree with lowering the cost of imported pork tariff.
Hindi ho totoo yan kasi ang nasusupply talaga ng pork ay galing sa local. Ginagamit lang nila yung consumers, nakawawa yung consumers. Sila mismo ang nagbibigay ng mahal ng mga pork na imported kahit mura at saka highly subsidized yung taripa nila.
As for the Agriculture Department, they have assured the public that there is enough supply of pork in the country. For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
Vice President Sara Duterte has raised concerns over the quality of education in the Philippines. Duterte sounded the alarm during the Senate Finance Committee's hearing on the DepEd's budget.
Among grade 5 students, 90% have poor reading skills and 83% poor math skills based on SEA PLM 2019. As for grade 9 students, 81% can't deal with basic math problems. 81% have trouble understanding texts of moderate length. And 78% cannot recognize correct explanations for scientific phenomena or draw valid conclusions from given data.
The Vice President also defended the DepEd's 150 million peso confidential fund. She assured lawmakers that the budget will be used to address issues such as drug use, online scams, and other concerns that victimize both teachers and learners.
Some of the issues and challenges that we have encountered in our field operations are drug involvement of our personnel and our learners. There is also the recruitment in violent extremism and terrorism. We also have cases, and we are working right now on the involvement of our personnel and our learners in child pornography.
To share her insights about the quality of education in the Philippines, we have with us via Zoom Diane Fajardo Valencia. She is Deputy Executive Director of the Philippine Business for Education, or PBEd. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, Diane.
Hi, good evening, Robbie and Sean. Thanks for having us here.
Diane, first of all, just to clarify, the number cited by Vice President Sara Duterte, Secretary of Education Sara Duterte, this is a snapshot of the quality of education right now or before the pandemic?
It's even before the pandemic, or it's a combination, but we really agree with her pronouncements that there is a learning crisis. Actually, we've been sounding the alarm since 2020 that there is a learning crisis, not because of the pandemic, but it's just exacerbated by the pandemic. But for decades, let's face it, the education sector has been neglected, right? So, and as seen by the budget, and as seen in the budget, we can't even reach the 6% GDP for education budget. So we agree that there's a learning crisis, and it's based on data. And we're happy that the Vice President herself and the Education Secretary herself is acknowledging that there is a learning crisis.
So we asked that precisely because, as we all know, that learning crisis and the learning gap must have grown, must have been aggravated even further by the pandemic. It could not have been any better. So how can we improve things other than, raising the budget?
I think what we really need to do first is assessment. I know it's not sexy, it's kind of boring, but we really need the data and see at the granular level, at the student level, how many of them are having difficulty reading and are having difficulty with numeracy. Because with that data, we can correctly and efficiently allocate our budget with the right interventions. So that's what we really need to do. And aside from that, let's make sure that, or hopefully the DepEd will also do some remediation in the early grade levels, and at the same time focus on nutrition, because these young learners are the most in need right now, right? So some of them started kinder with just modules, right? So we really need to focus on our young learners, make sure that they're able to read and write, and they're going to school healthy, and their brains are also developed. So actually, it's not just DepEd. We also need the help of DOH and the SWD to make sure that even before they enter the education system, their nutrition status are okay, their brains are developed, and they're ready to learn.
Right, Diane, we just switched to the K-12 system just before the pandemic. I know that the DepEd under VP Sara Duterte, they have ordered a review. First, it was a review from kinder up to grade 10, and now she is ordering a review of senior high school, which is grades 11 to 12. Do you think that the K-12 system is working out for our learners, what with the pandemic and all? Or do you think that soon we could actually see a reversion back to the old system?
We acknowledge that there are lapses in the K-12 curriculum, but I don't think going back to the K-10 to grades 1 to 10 is an option. So what we need is to really improve. So we're happy that DepEd is reviewing it, and we're happy in the business sector to help them. Actually, we've been pushing for the alignment of the senior high school curriculum to the industry needs, so that we can ensure that our graduates are employable or are ready to do entrepreneurship, or they can be productive because they have the necessary skills that they need once they leave DepEd or once they leave formal education.
Right. What about this confidential budget that the Vice President / DepEd Secretary is asking for, 150 million pesos going to I'm not really sure what these confidential funds are for. Do you agree with the need for such a fund, given her explanation that it is to combat scams and for security?
Yeah. So with our economy, I think every peso counts. So if that's going to education, then we're happy. But at the same time, we also need to make sure that that fund will be allocated or will directly affect the learning outcomes of our children. So of course, since it's confidential fund, we don't know what's there, but we're really hoping that that DepEd, whatever interventions they have there, will really affect the learning outcomes of our kids. Like our kids can read and write and do math. Our teachers are well supported and they can actually teach, and we can hire more people to help them. And then our graduates are employable. So hopefully the activities under the confidential fund will directly and effectively do those things so that we have that bang for the buck, right?
In the meantime, Diane, how do you feel about how government in general is handling the return to face-to-face classes, trying to bring back a sense of normalcy or even a new normal to our education system, especially in the public education sector? Is it all going well, or are we missing out? Are we missing some important points?
So first, we really welcome the move of the government to do face-to-face. And I think this November, it will be full face-to-face. But I think in many cities, it's already full face-to-face. And we really welcome that. So far, with our consultations with the stakeholders, they're doing great. But I think what's lacking is, so I'll go back to assessments, right? And remediation. So now that the children are there in the classrooms, we really need to assess what are their needs and then at the same time remediate it. So I think DepEd also has plans to remediate, but hopefully we can do it this year and we can do it ASAP.
Actually, Diane, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Earlier today, we did a report. The DepEd said it was planning to institutionalize hybrid learning again. So we were so excited to go back to face-to-face classes, and now they're talking about institutionalizing hybrid classes because of a lack of classrooms, of course, exacerbated by the natural disasters that we experience. How do you feel about that?
I think there's merit to hybrid classes. But of course, so I'll go back to assessment, right? So as long as we know what to teach them and the immediacy of what we're going to teach, we should be able to craft the proper curriculum, the proper modules, the proper materials, and the training for the teachers, so that whatever modality yung learning, no, we can really see the learning outcomes will improve.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Diane Fajardo, PBEd Deputy Executive Director. Still to come, the Health Department is making cancer treatment more accessible to patients. Find out how when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Happening. The red-hot U.S. housing market is cooling off. An index tracking prices in 20 large cities has fallen for the first time in a decade, marking the end of a 2-year pandemic boom as higher mortgage rates take effect. Buyers are being priced out of the market, which is slowing down transactions and forcing sellers to respond by lowering their asking prices. The West Coast is leading the way. San Francisco, Seattle, and San Diego each saw at least 2% declines in July from the previous month. Now, while the overall direction of prices down is significant, the actual levels are too, because home prices, they remain elevated. There's still a lot of pent-up demand. We saw sales of newly constructed homes jump unexpectedly in August, as well as a persistent housing shortage. And when people leave big, expensive cities, like those in California, for more affordable places, the relocations will keep a floor under prices in those new cities. But as long as the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates to bring down inflation, the trajectory of prices is likely to be down.
Bear market rally. Here's the latest buzzword you may be hearing in markets. It's also known as a dead cat bounce. This is a sharp and rapid recovery in the price of things like stocks, bonds, or cryptocurrencies in the middle of a long-term downtrend. They can last days, or weeks, or months, and can be really dangerous traps for investors who are looking for the start of a real recovery, also known as a bull market. You can only really identify one of these with the benefit of hindsight. This is Buzzwords. I'm Sofia Orticosta. For more of these, or to ask about one of the buzzwords you may be hearing in markets, follow us on your favorite platforms.
Good afternoon. Hello. Mr. President, I'm Ted Anthony from the Associated Press. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
The purpose really that I have brought to this visit here in New York, in the peripheries of the UN General Assembly, has been to try to reintroduce the Philippines to our American friends, both in the private sector and in the public sector. We do not want to return to whatever it is we were doing pre-pandemic. We want to be able to be involved and be part, vital part.
TV5 won big at the recently concluded Asian Academy Creative Awards 2022. Singaling Celebrity Edition won Best Non-Scripted Entertainment Program. Voice Talent Show Suzuki bagged Best Voice Artist for Singaling, while Singaling Kids won the Best Children's Program Award. It's a prank! Many vloggers fell prey at the supposedly leaked photos of Kelsey Merritt and James Reid hanging out in Los Angeles. But it turns out the Filipina international model was James' leading lady for his latest single, You and I, under Careless Music.
You and I, this moment's made for two, and that's just you and I.
You and I is out now on all streaming platforms. For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
The health department is making cancer treatment more accessible to patients through the agency's cancer access sites. Yeda Pascual gives us a front seat to the story.
Getting sick can get very difficult, especially if your illness is life-threatening like cancer. This is why the health department is offering accessible medication as well as additional support and financial aid for cancer patients. These are all available through the agency's cancer access sites.
Ang kagandahan po ng cancer access sites natin ay mas naging accessible yung cancer treatment. So kung dati marami ang nagre-refuse ng treatment, ngayon mas nagpapatreat na ang mga tao dahil meron tayong support na binibigay sa kanila.
There are 31 cancer access sites across the country, and all of them offer different cancer support services, including prevention, counseling, early detection screening, consultation, diagnosis, and treatment. But take note that these services only cover 8 types of cancer.
Napili ito based on burden ng diseases talaga, no? So ibig sabihin ng burden, it's really yung ano ba yung pinakamaraming cancer sa buong bansa.
Interested patients may head to the cancer access sites flashed on your screens. These sites are open 24/7.
Ang kinakailangan lang pong dalhin doon ay really yung magpapa-enroll kayo sa cancer access sites. Dapat dala nyo yung treatment protocol nyo, abstract, and of course, one valid ID. Yun lang naman ang requirements. Wala kaming ibang requirements na hinihingi.
Mobile journalist Yeda Pascual, we are One News.
That was fast flashing all of those cancer sites. I imagine a lot of people would be interested to see that. But you could go to the DOH website, I presume, and you can also just Google DOH Cancer Hub and that list, and mahanap mo yung what is relevant and
Pero really quickly, habang nagpa-flash siya, may nakita ko, actually may mga private hospitals, mangilan-ngilan na naka-thrown in there with the mostly public access hospitals. So I think it's a good step.
It's a good initiative, great program. Like we said, you can go to DOH and find the relevant hospitals that are most convenient and most accessible to you.
Siyempre, yun ang gagawin ko, titignan ko kung ma-access ko talaga yung access hub, cancer access sites ng DOH.
And that's the big story tonight. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more analysis. I'm Robbie Alampay.
The big story is also available via Signal Play. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. I am Sean Yao. Stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.